we had Zharnel Hughes got another big win here, beat Fred Kerley in the 200 over in Jamaica with a time of 19.96. Fred ended up coming in second place with a time of 20.17. As a note, this is the third time, we've saw that third time in a row from Fred getting a loss. He did that last. He didn't have 3 losses in a row all last season. He did in 2022, and then he also did in 2021. So his Olympic year when he came in second in the 100, as well as in 2022 when he didn't make the final in the race for the World Championship as well. We've talked about it in the beginning when we saw a couple slow times, between him and Christian Coleman. Now, 3 or 4 weeks later, is this time to panic? Is it time to talk about Fred, or is he going to figure it out later on this year?
I'm not panicking on Fred, man. I think Fred is too much of a proven big-time performer for me to stress out what he's doing early. Everybody's program's different. Everybody's, their mindset as to what they're working on right now is a little bit different. I would have expected Fred to win at least one of those 3 races he's had. Don't get me wrong, as a spectator, but I still have immense faith in Fred getting it together come trials, more so than I do in like 95% of other athletes. And he's proven. I mean, he's earned that benefit of the doubt. Like I don't know the times quite exactly comparatively to what he was doing in 21 and 22 this early, but I still got full confidence that he's going to shake back right and get into those top spots that he needs to get into when it matters most, especially because honestly, like there's a few of the elite guys that I would put kind of in his tier, in his echelon that aren't really running right now. I think Ramel just ran for the first time, but he ran well, but he just ran. And then Bracy, I haven't really seen much from. So like, you know what I mean? Like kind of the guys that are in that ilk, like I still wouldn't put over Fred. So, with that being said, I'm not really worried. I still got him up there with the upper echelon of American sprinters.
Yeah. To give you some notes, for the 200 at this point last year, he had a 20.27 in the 200 this time last year. And he had a 20.24 in the 200. In the 100 in 2021 in the Olympics. During the Olympic year for the 100 at this point, he was at, where'd it go? 991. He ran 1991, and he had, 5 races already under his belt that were in the 10 seconds. So he's not like, he's running fairly similar. And I think, like you said, I mean, he's shown that he doesn't run crazy fast during the regular season. Like all of his best races have been right around that championship time. Like, I mean, his PR in the 200 of that 9.7, that was at what I think was after pre in 2021. So like, yeah, not yet, like, cause he does this all the time, but I'm still like wondering, okay, when are we gonna, see that one thing drop, because it hasn't happened yet. And you're such a big name, like you'd assume that it's going to happen at some point. So that's like, I guess where I'm at of like, yeah, I'm not concerned, but I'm wondering, when are we going to start seeing something, flip here? When's the switch going to change up?
Yeah, I feel it though. I feel it. I understand that too, especially with somebody of his, his stature in the sport. But I'm trying to remain like patient. I'm trying to be like open to as many like subjective variants that there could be. Like maybe he's dealing with something, or maybe like there's something that he's really, really stuck on working on. Like I just don't have any sense of concern when it comes to him right now. I don't know. I just don't. I'm really confident what he's going to do.
Yeah. We saw, so this was, I mean, taking it back a little bit on Twitter, it's kind of a similar narrative. We saw Michael Johnson. He was talking about, I think it actually was from this weekend, where they're like, yeah, seeing a lot of people on Twitter and social media and in podcasts and all this other type of stuff. It's like, hey, the race is always being compared to like, what does this mean for the rest of the season? What does this mean for at the Olympics? What does this mean for whatever it is? And not as many individuals talking about what does it mean in the moment. like why don't we care as much about like, hey, what that 200-meter race was right then, or like similar to basketball, or hey, if somebody drops a 80-point game or somebody wins a game, like you're talking about it in that moment. To answer with that, I think it's kind of because that's what we've deemed as important, as when are you racing something at the end of the year. So that's why I think so many, like we see so many of these top level names of like where you're getting out real slow, like in the beginning of the year, or like you're not worried about dropping that crazy time at the beginning of the year, because it's like it means absolutely nothing. Like your regular season means nothing, I feel, as if you're a pro. Like for you while you're running, like, do you ever feel like you feel that where it's like, bro, I don't care, like, not like that you don't care what you run, because obviously you're a competitor, you want to win, but it's like my entire success of the season is on 3 races in June or July, and nothing else really matters. Like, is that like a feeling that y'all have or something?
I think you can keep your perspective that way for like your own benefit, right? Like to not put too much pressure on yourself for like the regular season or preseason, however you want to put it. As a competitor, you want to go out there and have the best performance that you can have that day. No matter what time of year it is, you want to have the best performance that you can have that day. Now, if you don't, which so many times we don't early on in the year, is kind of when you fall back on that perspective, like, okay, but like understanding that the most important times for me to run fast is from, late June through the beginning of August. That's kind of like, it's just a perspective to kind of keep you in a good space mentally. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get you. Like, that's what I would try to, and I guess it's a similar way, especially for me, not competing at anywhere near as that level, was like, if I've qualified for a meet already, it's like, all right, I got my qualification in, like I'm good to go. So it's like, even if I'm having a bad performance, it's like, all right, well, it's not the conference championship or whatever it may be. Like, that's where I really need to compete. That's where, like, you're looking for them victories. Like, so have you had those where you're going into the race, you're like, man, feet are feeling heavy, body ain't feeling right, and then you go in and like set a new PR, or put together like a really good race? Like, you have those moments, and like where that happens.
Absolutely, bro. It's crazy how that stuff works, right? And then that's kind of like a whole mental game itself. I've had nights where I wasn't able to sleep before a race. Like I've had nights where I had to run errands and do all this other stuff, have all this hectic stuff going on. I wake up the next day like, bro, I don't feel it. We get to start like, I don't really want to run today. Like I don't really have to technically, like have that kind of attitude and still PR or still run like a season's best time. I think it's just all about the human mind, man, tricking it and like playing with it for real. Like it's such a crazy concept, but to kind of hit the topic on a more broad standpoint, man, like we want to run fast every single time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the spectators are always like, oh, why such and such not running fast? Like, I promise you that like we want to run fast, like for ourselves more than you want us to run fast. So like that could be a lot on the human mind, like when you're not necessarily running fast in that moment. So we have to remind ourselves, yo, okay, like it's not conference yet. It's not, USA championships yet. It's not Olympic trials yet. Just to kind of keep yourself in a good state of mind and level of understanding as to where you're at in the season. It's kind of, I think that's what it's for.
Yeah. For me, like something that I use, and I'm not sure if it's as prevalent on the pro circuit. I know Noah has been pretty open with it, but like the powers of having like a sports psychologist and someone like that in your corner. Like for me, I was going through in pole vault. I had a long stretch of just no heighting and just like running through and not performing at all, and it was just like terrible on the mind. I was like, no, I got to see somebody to help this out, and like that really like helped out. Like, is that something that's as prevalent, you think, in at least in track and field, or not as many athletes, taking advantage of that type of thing?
I think a good number of athletes are taking advantage of it. A notable amount of athletes. I think that USATF does do something with their health insurance to cover even the way, like the fees for like a sports psychologist. But I think it's good for the game. I think it's good for good for the sport. I had one in college. I don't have one anymore. But I think it's good. I think there's a good amount of athletes that are open about it, and Noah's a huge advocate of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it helped out a little bit. So I can imagine, like, yeah, especially you're about to line up for an Olympic final. Yeah, I can only imagine how many, the thoughts going through, right before when you're in that green room, man. So no, for sure, for